This is the Manga Xanadu Manga Dome podcast. I am your host, Laurie Henderson. Join me on this journey into the world of manga, where a river of reviews flow through caverns of commentary down into the latest news. Welcome to the Manga Dome. Episode 13, Too Many Alices. In the news, Viz's digital manga magazine Weekly Shonen Jump has announced a new series to premiere in the issue coming out the week of July 15, 2013. The series, Jocko the Galactic Patrolman, is by Akira Toriyama, the artist of Dragon Ball and Dr. Slump. It's a comedy series about an alien policeman who is stranded on Earth. I'm thrilled to hear about this series. I love Toriyama's work, and I hope this new series will be in the vein of Dragon Ball, the original series. I never cared for Z and really don't want to see another series like that from him again. His fun, light adventure titles are so much better than the series' one battle per volume that Dragon Ball became. But he's got the pull now to not be put into that position again. I hope this one is a hit. In news from Japan, the Sig Iki series Dorohedoro will be completing its run at volume 19. Dorohedoro is a sci-fi horror series about a man who lives in a place called the Hole. He has the head of a reptile and is searching for the sorcerer responsible to have the spell reversed. I'm not usually into horror, but Dorohedoro balances the horror and comedy in a way I really enjoy. I love Kamen. He's a great protagonist. Dorohedoro was among the first titles serialized on Viz's Sig Iki site. The series is being published in print and has through volume 10 available. It's on a slow release schedule, but at least it's coming out. Because it's considered a mature series, it can be found digitally on the Viz Manga website or on Barnes & Noble Nook app only. The Viz Manga Top 10. It's another interesting list this week, as once again the orange-suited ninja is nowhere to be found. For the week of June 26, 2013, it's a dead heat between shonen and shoujo titles. There is a new number 1 again this week, as Itsu Waribito Volume 7 leaps into the top spot. Kare First Love Volume 4 moves down one from Volume 3's high last week to number 2. From Far Away is moved one as well, as Volume 11 goes to number 3 from Volume 10 spot at number 2. Red River Volume 12 comes up from Volume 11 spot at number 6 to number 4, while Tale of the Moon Volume 2 debuts at number 5. Black Cat returns with Volume 3 at number 6, while Beauty Pop Volume 2 makes its climb to number 7. Case Closed keeps hanging on with Volume 13 coming in at number 8, while fellow Shonen Sunday series Mar hits the list with Volume 10 at number 9. Returning favorite Flame of Recca is back with Volume 17 at number 10. It's a split down the middle with shonen and shoujo titles tied at 5 each, but you'll notice all but one of the top 5 are shoujo, so I'd say that gives them the edge. I'm still glad to see older titles making the top 10 like Flame of Recca and Mar. It just goes to show there's always a new audience out there for titles as long as they are available. There is only one new series debuting on the site this week. Yu-Gi-Oh! Was one of the launch titles for the original Shonen Jump print magazine. I didn't think I would be thrilled by this series when it premiered with Shonen Jump, but the beginning of the series is actually really fun. It wasn't just about the Duel Monsters card game as the series became with the Duelist arc. The first 7 volumes were filled with different games, with shadow games for the loser to play. These were the best part of the series. I loved the dark, edgy element the shadow games brought, making what I thought was just a shill for trading cards into a really interesting and entertaining title. If you love games but think you hate Yu-Gi-Oh!, give this first volume a try. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Too Many Alices. The story of Alice and her adventures in Wonderland have been entertaining kids and adults around the world since it was first published in 1864. It has been the basis for plays, movies, and TV shows. It's also been the basis of manga. Several of these titles have been licensed in English. When I received the latest title, Are You Alice, for review, it occurred to me just how many titles there were that were based on the Alice in Wonderland stories and how many of these were licensed by Yen Press. I'd like to look at 3. Are You Alice? Alice in the Country of Hearts, and Pandora Hearts. All 3 titles have their own takes on the characters in Wonderland, but it's the similarities that these titles share that interest me more. The 3 titles were split between 2 shoujo and 1 shonen. Are You Alice is a rare shoujo seen in the US with a male as its lead. Are You Alice and Pandora Hearts share some psychological elements, as so much of the story is about the inner workings of the characters. Alice in the Country of Hearts, being based on a visual novel game, is less about who the characters are than how they relate to the protagonist, Alice. Pandora Hearts is the longest, currently at 20 volumes and still going. Alice in the Country of Hearts only went 6 volumes, but has several spin-offs and sequels, including one that is also ongoing. Are You Alice is not only the newest here in the US, but is also fairly new in Japan, as only 7 volumes of the ongoing series have been released so far. The first thing I noticed about all 3 of these titles is that Wonderland is not a safe place to be. The Wonderland of Are You Alice is filled with regrets, the remnants of the previous girls who tried to become Alice. They are after the new Alice. The Mad Hatter is a hitman for the Queen of Hearts, who still has her predilection for chopping off heads. Even Alice must become a killer, as he is tasked by the Queen to kill the White Rabbit and become the Alice of Wonderland. In Alice in the Country of Hearts, Wonderland isn't any more of a cheerful place. Alice Liddell is kidnapped by Peter Rabbit and made to drink a liquid that traps her in Wonderland. Here, death means nothing. It is dealt out with little thought. The Mad Hatter is the head of the Mafia, with the March Hare as his hitman, and Dee and Dum his bodyguards, bloodthirsty killers all. Ace and Peter of the Hearts Castle are just as ruthless, and the Queen of Hearts is still trying to take heads. Even the Cheshire Cat, who is a stray, has the killing streak, though he would probably be the most justifiable. In Pandora Hearts, there isn't a Wonderland per se, but the abyss, where chains exist, beings that long to escape and bind themselves with people who are sent there. Oz, a 15-year-old boy, is dropped into this abyss on his coming-of-age ceremony and meets a girl named Alice. She is also the Bee-Rabbit, the worst chain of all. Oz makes a deal with Bee-Rabbit to escape the abyss. It is through these chains that many of the Wonderland characters are portrayed. The Cheshire Cat, the Mad Hatter, the Dormouse, and the Jabberwock are all chains contracted with people and have powers that are used to battle and kill. Another similarity shared between Are You Alice and Alice in the Country of Hearts is that an outsider is introduced into Wonderland with some purpose, to kill and or to interact with the people, and in doing so also seems to relieve the boredom felt by the inhabitants. In Alice in the Country of Hearts, that interaction goes a step further, as everyone seems to be immediately fascinated with her, and she is then presented with several suitors. Even the Queen of Hearts is taken by her. While there are similarities between these 3 series, they are far from being the same. Pandora Hearts is its own Wonderland with a slowly unfolding mystery that continues to ask more questions than it answers. Alice in the Country of Hearts is all about the romance. As Alice meets each new member of Wonderland, she is drawn into their lives, introducing her way of thinking, which is often very different from theirs. There is also a mystery floating around the Country of Hearts, but it doesn't take as much precedent as the relationships do. Are You Alice tries to bring up the mystery, but doesn't do as well as the other 2. The characters in Are You Alice really aren't very interesting at this point, but the series has just started, so there might be potential. I just wish Alice was someone I wanted to become more invested in. It's hard to say of the 3 titles which I enjoyed more. I was surprised by how much I liked the 2-volume side story, Alice in the Country of Hearts, My Fanatic Rabbit, as it was just a retelling of the first few volumes, with Alice staying at the Matter Mansion and getting closer to Elliot March. The retelling had potential to be boring, but the development of Alice and Elliot's relationship wasn't bad. I didn't think the series really needed to be done, but I wasn't sorry I read it by the end. I started out not liking Pandora Hearts when it was serialized in Yen Plus, but once I got to reading the volumes, I found I liked it a lot more. The volumes I read this time were 8 through 10 and continue Oz's pursuit of the truth about the tragedy of Sablier. More is revealed about Alice and the intent of the abyss. Brake opens up about his past, and Oz comes face to face with Glenn Baskerville. More about Vincent's motives are revealed, but they aren't enough for me to make him a sympathetic character. Neither are the Baskervilles. If there was one I liked least, it was Are You Alice. It didn't seem to have any direction. It was just a bunch of pretty boys waving guns and running from shadows. It's got a lot of work ahead to make it into a series I really want to read the next volume of. The difference between all of these titles does break them up for different demographics and therefore more appealing to fans. But I have to say, as a reviewer, I was really getting tired of the Alice motif by the time I got to Are You Alice? The similarities might seem slight, but there were enough to make me go, not another one. There can be too much of a good thing, and I think there really can be such a thing as too many Alices. Thank you for listening to the Manga Xanadu Manga Dome podcast. You can find links to the stories and books discussed here in the show notes at manga.jdragononline.com. You can email me with any questions at xanadu@jdragononline.com or leave a comment on this post. Rate me on YouTube and follow me on Twitter at Manga Xanadu, all one word. Until next time, farewell from the Manga Dome.